The purpose of this podcast is simple. We want you to get to know your doctor before meeting them in person, because you're making a life-changing decision and time is scarce. The more you can learn about who your doctor is before you meet them, the better that first meeting will be. There's no substitute for an in-person appointment, but we hope this comes close. I'm your host, Eva Shea, and you're listening to Meet the Doctor. Welcome back to Meet the Doctor. I'm Eva Shea, and my guest today is Dr. Mike Van Thielen. He is an expert biohacker and the first that we've ever had on the podcast. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Eva.
Okay. I have to ask you first, what is an expert biohacker?
Well, somebody who's well-versed in biohacking, but biohacking is one of those buzzwords that are getting a little bit more attention in the medical field, especially when we're talking about functional medicine, anti-aging, in that arena. We're talking about biohacking. It is, I would say, an amorphous term with many different definitions, but my definition is simple. It's basically upgrading the body, the mind, and life. And from a health point of view, it's objectively reversing our biological age.
I have a sense that this is becoming more interesting to people, but with velocity. Like it maybe was a fringe thing that only was talked about at the gym in the past, and now is something that's becoming very mainstream. Am I on the right track there?
It's becoming more and more mainstream for sure. Yeah.
Where do you suppose that is?
Well, I think number one, people are more relying on functional medicine doctors and are getting more and more interested in controlling their own health, because conventional medicine has really not been doing the job to really help them. Yes, masking symptoms and prescribing prescriptions, but to really be healthy, enjoying a quality of life, being in optimal physical and mental condition, nobody teaches you that. But now, with our online access, there's more and more resources for people to actually address the root cause of their conditions and not just overcome disease, but obtain optimal health. And then the next step would be reversing our biological age. So I think the resources are there, and conventional medicine is really, not providing the results that we're hoping for. And I think those two really steer people in a direction of getting, help from a practitioner or a coach or a mentor that knows on how to address the causes of disease, but also knows what the foundations are for optimal health and longevity. The second reason I think it is that maybe in the past, a lot of this information, these technologies, these strategies were only available to the elite, but now everybody has access to it, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to live a long quality life.
It seems to me I observe the industry a lot, that there's a lot of things that are driving people in this direction. But I wonder if some of it is that we have a bad experience that makes us turn around and go, this is not right. Like, this is not how this is supposed to go.
People, especially the older generation, still trust in their doctor. And of course, there's good doctors out there, but these doctors are really not educated in nutrition. They're not educated in health. They're just educated in pathology and how to mask those systems or manage those symptoms. And so, most people are in that system of more and more drugs and more visits to the doctors. And I see those social agendas every day. Every day there's a doctor's visit. And so, I think more and more people start to realize that's not what life is about. Life is about enjoying your time, finding fulfillment in life, helping other people, and not just having a social agenda of doctor's visits. And so, the information's out there. There's many mentors, coaches, practitioners out there that can help people steer in that right direction, because it's not that you need a doctor or you don't even need somebody like me. Somebody like me guide you in the right direction, but I teach you how to stay in control of your own health, how to listen to the warning signs of your body, so you can be your own doctor and the doctor of your loved ones. And then I think the next step also is we get more and more influence from AI. AI has, very positive outlooks, but also many negative outlooks. So it's one of those things that, could start controlling us in a negative way. But at the same time, think about you going to a doctor and having to wait 2 hours in a waiting room, and you get this opinion from this one person who just has, a few limited tests about you and doesn't really know you as a person, just a medical file. That's all he or she got, and looks it over and makes a decision based on that in a very small time frame, versus You have AI apps now where you can upload all your information, answer thousands of questions about your health, then have something that's like I got my Oura Ring 4 on here now, something that constantly feeds information into that app. And if I get sick or if something that I want an answer to, I just ask. And that AI now is not just one doctor that has limited information. It's a compilation of millions of doctors and scientific research combined with my customized, personalized information of the last week, the last months, the last year, giving me the right approach and the right decision. So even from that point of view, we are becoming more and more equipped to be our own doctor and the best doctor for ourselves.
Amazing examples. About 20 years ago, the first time I ever got my mind blown about things like this, I met a man who founded a radiology company, and he had 1,000 radiologists on staff. And so your film would go to the guy, the company, and the company would send it to 1,000 radiologists to read it all at the same time and respond together. And so he was crowdsourcing before AI. And now I imagine what would happen if you took 1,000 radiologists reading your film and AI reading it and all your data going into it at the same time. And it's just gotten so much better, so much faster.
Yeah, indeed.
Can you think of any other good examples of how AI is being used? I think people really have a hard time visualizing it until they hear a story about something that's practical.
In health, we're using it more and more with the biometrics, like I said, all uploading it. And, sometimes I don't understand because it will say, well, Mike, you should eat an orange right now. And I can't rationalize why, but it has all my biometrics, my emotions, the way I slept, my readiness for the day. And it knows that I'm going to go swimming in an hour. And it doesn't tell me to eat a banana, it tells me to eat an orange, right? So, but it pulls that information for so many sources that obviously I can't make sense of it, but I'll eat an orange.
And then you feel better because you eat the orange?
Yes.
And then how far did you swim?
Usually about 1.5, 2 miles, yeah.
And how long does that take you?
Well, it depends on the workout, but I'm not a distance swimmer. That's just a workout. I'm a sprinter, actually. And so I do the 100-meter freestyle. So we're talking about 50, 55 seconds, yeah.
I read that you're a world record holder. It must be in 100 freestyle then, right?
That's correct, yeah.
And so where is this world record held?
The 45 plus age group. Now I'm 53, so I'm just started training again to try to get the 55 plus record in 2016. So,
did you start swimming when you were really young?
It's a fun story. As a young kid, I was the fastest runner in the class. I'm talking elementary school. I was on a basketball team, soccer team. I was the sports guy in school, but I couldn't win in swimming because one of my best friends was part of the local swim team. So according to my mother, because I don't remember, I was so angry that I couldn't win because I'm a sore loser. But I found a solution, and the next morning I asked my mom to join the swim team myself. So that's what I found my passion for swimming. But I always still joke about it. It's actually my worst sport, right?
I think your passion might be for competing more than anything else.
Maybe. But today I compete against, these swimmers that hold these records in these age groups. They are still ex-Olympic record holders, world record holders, 6 times NCAA champions. So they are swimmers. And so most of my competitors, they still swim like 2 hours a day. I can't do that. I don't have time for it. I don't like it that much. So the way I compensate, I only swim 3 times, if I'm lucky, 75 minutes per week. And they, again, 2 hours per day. So, but what I do is I biohack, I reverse my biological age. So I take care of my body, my mind, and I do all the things to compete, next year in a 55 plus. But I'm trying to get my body to be a 42-year-old body. And that's where I take my unfair advantage. So chronologically, I impeded my age group, but biologically, I want to have a younger body. And so that's where I spend my time creating that, what I call unfair advantage.
Brilliant. Did you see that article, I think yesterday, about how much LeBron James spends on biohacking every year?
Yeah, a lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
I don't have that money to spend on it, but if I could, yeah, maybe. But for them, it makes sense, right, Eva? Because they make millions every year. Mm-hmm. So if they only could extend their career by 1 or 2 or 3 years, I mean, that makes up for that investment.
Yeah,
that would
the
be
cost of doing business
right?
for him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm still stuck on how you cheated yourself out of, not cheated, you cheated your coach out of being at practice, because I was a swimmer too. And I just remember wondering constantly, why do we have to be here for 2.5 hours? Couldn't we do this in less time? And that's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. But now when I'm adult, so I don't have to listen to the coach necessarily. I go when I show up when I want to do when I want to. So that's what I do. I don't show up too often, but when I do, I go high intensity, obviously. I recover in between, and I do everything else I need to do, optimize my hormones, optimize my immune system, take the right supplements, do, hydrogen water, do this, do that. I create power routines to really objectively reverse that biological age.
Do you live somewhere where you can swim outside all year long?
Yes, I unfortunately do. I'm in Florida, Daytona Beach, Florida. So I do swim outside, which makes a big difference.
So you're a sprinter freestyler. What's your worst stroke?
Backstroke.
Really? Yeah, I hate looking at the ceiling.
Yeah. Or the clouds.
Okay, so in terms of your medical practice, do you see patients in person? Do you just see them online? What does your day-to-day look like when you're helping people?
Since COVID, I got rid of brick and mortar. So right now I have private mentees. So I have 2 types of mentorships, one-on-one. I'm also in the midst of a 6-week virtual program, which we continue to repeat. So that's a small group, 10, 12 people. We got 9 this time. And so what we do over 6 weeks, we have 12 calls, 2 calls per week, 90 minutes, where we go through the whole, it's called Limitless Lab. And what it basically is, it's maximizing your performance through self-optimization. And so it's a very affordable way to get to that next level. So whether you are an artist, a performer, an athlete, an entrepreneur, a professional, a doctor, I got a few doctors on this time, it doesn't matter. I can't really tell you how to improve your skill because I'm not a doctor. I mean, not that type of doctor. I'm not a wrestler or I'm not a finance guy. But what I do is I know how you can upgrade your body, your mind, and your life. So we go through 7 steps, and there's worksheets and workbooks, and I make people accountable. And after 6 weeks, the idea is that you created a power routine that gets you to the next level. And so that's what we do, and it's very fun. And people get a little bit out of their comfort zone and get to that next level. And so that's kind of what I do. I have private clients, and I also do limited group consulting and coaching.
How do people find you?
On my website, biohackingunlimited.com. My books are there, my mentorship programs, the Limitless Labs there, keynote speaking page. So everything you want to know about me, my credentials too, are on biohackingunlimited.com.
So I assume at the beginning of a program like this, do you do a bunch of testing and labs? What does that look like?
Not necessarily during the virtual training, but we recommend those, right? So step 4 is where really from the 7 steps, we start talking about upgrading the body and the mind. We start talking about health concepts. We start talking about objective measurements and what they should look like and what you should look for. And then integrating those tips and strategies and even technologies. And then retesting, right? Because we want to not only see progress, we want to see the effectiveness of the strategies that we implement. So it's not just blood work that most people think, but based on what we're trying to achieve, or what modalities we incorporate. There may be brain testing, WAVI testing, there may be nitric oxide testing, telomere lengthening testing, gut biome testing. So there's many, many parameters that we can include based on what we want to achieve or what the goal is.
Do most people who come into this program with you already know a fair amount, or do you find that they're just at zero and starting from scratch?
Well, we got a little bit of everything. I like to classify them in 3 categories. Number 1 is the people that are either in pain, they're overweight, or they are diagnosed with some kind of condition. And so those people, they're operating below ground zero, right? They're below normal. So the first step is regain control of your health, so we can back to normal. The second step is once we're back to normal, we need to optimize our health. So we need to incorporate lifestyle changes and modifications so that we can be strong and vital and in optimal health. And then only step 3, only when we're in optimal health, that would be the ideal foundation to benefit from biohacking strategies and technologies. Now we want to do what's necessary to reverse that biological age. If we use those strategies In phase number 1, the body's not going to respond right because it's still putting out fires. It's in an emergency state, so you're not going to respond as well. So we need to guide people through those 3 stages in order to achieve that ultimate goal of being superhuman.
Superhuman. What does it mean to be superhuman?
I think it's going beyond our genetic programming and not just living longer chronologically, but also quality of life. So I believe that today everybody easily can become 100 years of age, but that's not really what it's all about. It's about being able to do the things a 40, 50-year-old can do at age 100. So it's the quality of life, it's the lifespan. So you want to be 100, but still be able to go swim or play golf or travel or enjoy the grandkids, right? So that's what it's all about. It's about the quality of life. And today that's 100% possible, and we can even measure it.
How would you measure that?
Well, again, we got our chronological age, which is date of birth, right? And we need to start realizing that it's totally useless information, our date of birth, because it doesn't mean anything. Because we all know that person that is in their 60s and they're like walking zombies. They're almost dead because they got this 2 list of medications. They're in and out of the hospital. They look 85 and they're not going to live too long anymore. We all know that person. But then we also know the 90-year-old that is still very witty, that's independent, living by him or herself, and it's still playing golf, right? So 60, 90, the chronological age doesn't really say much about how we should feel or what we should be looking like. So it's about biological age, the age of our tissues and of our physiology and our biology. And we can measure that. Like I said, telomeres has always been kind of the key word. Telomeres are the end caps of our chromosomes that protect our DNA in each and every cell. And so as the cell divides and as we age, these telomeres become shorter and shorter because the cell divides. Until those telomeres are so short, the cell can no longer divide. And then the cell becomes useless. It becomes a senescent cell or a zombie cell, right? So the shorter the telomere, the older we are biologically. So what if we measured the telomere, the length, and then we implement 3 or 6 months or a year biohacking technologies, we measure again, and we were able to not maybe only stop it and have the same length? That would be a good result already. But what if they were longer? That means biologically, we are reversing our age. We are making our tissues, our cells, our mitochondria, we're making everything younger and functioning better than it was, a few years ago. So that's reversing our biological age.
I think it starts to show up. I just went to my 30-year high school reunion,
Mm-hmm.
and you could definitely see who was, on the outside. You can see who's taking care of themselves and who is not really. And you can kind of go a long time, through your 20s and probably most of your 30s, and some people in their 40s not taking care of yourself. I think alcohol maybe is a great example of something that will make you age far faster than you should. I definitely want to stay younger than my biological age. And I think as we get older, that becomes more and more important too, because we start to realize what we're losing.
Yeah, well, most people think that aging is linear, and it's not. Aging is exponential, right? And so if we want to counteract aging, we got to do that exponentially also, not linear, because we're going to fall short. Because, like you just mentioned, between 20 and 30, we don't age that much. Between 30 and 40, a little bit more. Now between 60 and 70, right? So we got to see aging not as linear as we would look at years, but we got to look at it as exponentially. And so in order to counteract that, we got to do that exponentially also.
I had never thought of that. What do you think the impact of GLP-1s is having on aging in particular?
When I teach also during the Limitless Lab, or any client I have, yes, there are technologies and tools, and there's biohacking. But again, like I said, if you don't have the foundations in place, I'm not going to give you those strategies and technologies. We going to incorporate foundations of health. It's about obviously what you eat, nutrient intake, but also about avoiding toxins. It's about clean and healthy water and plenty of water. It's about movement. It's about sunlight. It's about mindset. And so, everybody heard about things, but hearing about it is not going to make you better. You actually got to implement those things in order to see the results. And so I help people creating those power routines, which are daily routines, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, that incorporate all those foundations so that we have a foundation. And so many times, it's about putting the body in a balanced state or homeostasis, realizing that drugs don't cure, surgeries don't cure, injections don't cure, but also supplements don't cure, a healthy diet doesn't cure. Only the body can heal itself. because we got these 1.8 quadrillion chemical reactions going on in our body, and our body produces between 300 and produces and recycles, otherwise we would gain a lot of weight, produces between 300 and 400 ATP per day, pounds of ATP per day. So we can't phantom those numbers. And so to think that we can just intervene and have a positive outcome is actually laughable. And so what we need to do is realize that the body can heal itself, that intervening is just going to disrupt something, but it's not going to have any long-term positive effects. So what we need to do is just put the body in the correct or in the right conditions so that it can heal itself. So we need to, try to help it balance itself or give it the right tools to do so. And that's all I do. And whether you are a top athlete I'm working with or a cancer patient, those foundations are the same.
Are your power routines like habit stacking where you combine several things at the same time so that you become more efficient? Yeah.
So that's what I help to do with my clients. And during the Limitless Lab, we go through all the elements that are important for each person. We use the same elements to construct their power routine, but it's going to be a little bit different for everybody, right? For example, if I want to get into the present moment or into a meditative state, there's many different tools to do that. And you may respond to meditation, but I tried it many times and I can't clear my mind. So that doesn't work for me. It works for you. What works for me is breath work, because I can be so focused on one single thing that suddenly everything else disappears out of my mind and I'm in a meditative state by doing breath work. And then other people like gratitude journaling or, sit in a quiet place and stare at the ocean, whatever it is. So the power routine is the same elements, but it's going to be customized to what works for you so that person can count on that power routine each and every day.
So is this an example of a mini power routine? Every night I make my daughter do 5 square breaths in a row, and it knocks her out. She goes to sleep within 2 minutes every time. It's like the greatest trick in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, totally. Settles her down almost instantly.
Perfect. That's
Breathing
great.
is amazing.
Yes.
Actually, about maybe 20 years ago, I had a psychiatrist who was really, really old school. He was not like here's a prescription guy. And one day he actually said, hold on. And he started scribbling on the prescription pad. And he handed it to me and it said, take 10 deep breaths. And I was like,
that's funny.
You are a keeper. I forgot his name, but he was from Alaska. He was like, he could like deliver baby animals and then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Well, Mother Nature has all the answers, believe it or not.
I know. We got to get back to that. I love what you're doing. And it's really interesting. And I'm glad that you came to talk to me today because I've heard a lot of things that, I spend a lot of time in the kind of the same spaces. And it's amazing to hear what's happening in other spaces and how, you're really out in front. You probably are around a lot of people who think like you. I'm guessing. I'm making assumptions here.
I'm trying to, conventions, and I do talk on stages. I just did I was just a faculty member of the A4M, American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. So in Vegas, I talked about molecular hydrogen, which is kind of unique because it's still a conventional type of medicine organization, even though they talk about longevity and anti-aging. So yeah, it was kind of revolutionary to be able to talk about molecular hydrogen on that stage.
Aesthetics does cross over. I mean, most of my career has been on the aesthetic side of medicine. And it is the A4M where it crosses over into the stuff that you do and work on and think about. People who care about aesthetics also care about what's happening inside their body pretty often too. So there's a lot in common there.
Yeah, we can try to patch the skin up from the outside, but the health comes from the inside. The glow comes from the inside.
When you get close to 50, you know right away when you didn't drink enough water because you can see it on your face.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very simple. Well, if someone's interested in learning more about what you're doing or doing a coaching program with you, where should they look for more information?
Yes, I'm not a big social media guy that would give me a dopamine overload, right? But just my website, biohackingunlimited.com or MVT. That's my initials, Mike Van Thielen, mvtonline.com. It's the same website, but that's where you find all my programs. If you have questions, you can schedule a 20-minute free Zoom call with me to see what's best for you or how I can help you. It doesn't cost anything, and all the resources are right there.
What if we want to come race against you in the pool?
No, you can do that too. Just set it up.
Okay. Go to Florida and ask for MVT.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Mike.
You're welcome, Eva. Thanks for having me.
If you're considering making an appointment or are on your way to meet this doctor, be sure to let them know you heard them on the Meet the Doctor podcast. Check the show notes for links, including the doctor's website and Instagram, to learn more. Are you a doctor or do you know a doctor who'd like to be on the Meet the Doctor podcast? Book your free recording session at meetthedoctorpodcast.com. Meet the Doctor is made with love in Austin, Texas, and is a production of The Axis, TheAxis.io.